So this week's video will start off with the NE. The NE is based off of the Fiat, the Fiat 124. And unlike the Riva that we have, that is a facelifted version, this one is quite closer to that. I've noticed that the body line is the same. Things like the grille area could be modified to make it into the Fiat or the early Ladas. But right now this one has a little bit of work. What happened is, I believe this is a common problem with the Fiats, with the NE 118, is the radiator fan hits the radiator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the radiator today. I'm going to take out the fan as well. We're going to cancel this fan which is pulley mounted, and I'm going to put in a fan on the front side instead from another car, or maybe I think you get some aftermarket stuff. The plan with this car is to fix this up and use it for a bit. We're planning on making a wide body kit for it, and it's quite clean. It's quite a nice car, so that's why I initially thought I'd use it as a donor car for the other for the Lada, but it turns out that this car is way too clean, so it doesn't make sense to part it out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix this one up, and we're gonna use this car, and yeah, maybe make a wide body kit, put some of the stuff we plan to put on the other car onto this instead, and that is the plan. So first off, start off with fixing it up, getting it running. Then we're gonna put on the wheels, and we're gonna make a kit for this car. So that's gonna take some time. So we'll start off with this. Here we are back with the Uno. I'm going to have to shift the engine 2 centimeters further forward, because I've changed the lower arms, and the lower arms are positioning the engine further forward. So I'll have to do that. I guess that'll get me the best position, and then I can fit Palio drive shafts without cutting them. I thought instead of making custom drive shafts, which would be quite costly and quite difficult, and probably would break if it wasn't done right, I'd rather do this. So I put in all the Palio parts, and now it's going to work like this. And after I'm done with that, I'll later on have to do the brakes. So what I thought was, why don't I do this, finish it off, and then I can work on my E30, which I've been waiting to do for a while. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to shift the engine forward. I'm going to start with lifting up the car, then also making sure the engine is tightened up with the chain block, and it's lifted in place. Remove the engine mounts, the transmission mounts, and replace them. The back one will become a Palio mount, while the front one will be a custom arm. Here we are back under the Uno. I've put in the jack with the bar just for some extra safety. I've also tied it up with the chain block on the top with a seat belt. Seat belts are really strong, and they're meant to take a lot of load, so there's no problem with this unless they get a little cut up or the knot comes untied, and then, well, the engine will fall on me, but I'm trusting my knots. Over here we've got the Palio engine mount arm, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be swapping out the arm that I had put in. I actually put in an Uno arm, so the engine was correct for the Uno position of the drive shafts, but now this is going to move the engine 2 centimeters forward. So what I'll be doing is, second, free to move as it wants. Okay. Oh. Yeah, since this is a used impact wrench, it tends to run on its own because probably the spring over here is a bit loose. It's not a strong enough spring. I'll have to replace that eventually. But for now it works and I don't want to mess it up. Crap! That's pretty much what happens. So now here we've got the Uno engine mount arm, and here we've got the Palio engine mount arm. And what you may notice is their heights are a bit different. So what's happening is this looks like it's about 2 centimeters forward. This is pushing the engine further back. So this is about 2 centimeters this distance, and it's also the arm is also compensating for the height of the mount. I don't know if I can balance this. This is a tricky one. Yeah. So what you'll notice is that almost the same height, but the Palio mount is a lot lower. The thickness of the rubber is more. So I'll start off by mounting this in place. Then I'm going to put the arm in place, and after that I'm going to put in the bolt for the arm. That'll take a bit of time because I'm going to have to unbolt this, this one over here. Start off with this in place. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but the mount fits right into the body. So it's like maybe it was designed so, or it was similar enough that it could accept different platforms. Maybe that was the idea with this, but it fits right in. Now that the mount is in, I'm going to put this engine mount in, the mount arm actually. I'm going to put this in position and bolt it in. So now what the problem is that there's a lack of clearance for the nut on the top that would hold this mount in place, this mount arm. So either way I have to move the engine forward, so might as well do it now. I'll unbolt this mount and shift the engine forward now. Now that I've taken off the back mount of the gearbox, I'm going to be taking off the front mount. So that has 3 bolts. I kind of made a mount arm and I'm not too happy with it. It doesn't look the cleanest, but it definitely will hold the engine and transmission in place. So yeah, what I wanted to talk about was, why am I doing an Uno? A lot of you might wonder, like, why would I be doing an Uno when I could be doing an E30, or I could be swapping the Golf. With the E30 I have to change the gearbox. So what happens is, I got a manual gearbox and I need to change a few things, and there is another E30 coming to me. That is another project that I'm building. We plan to make something interesting out of it. So there are some things like the pedal box that will change. The car I got the gearbox from didn't have the same pedal box for an E30. It was an E34. And also the Golf I wanted to do an engine swap. I wanted to do either a Mark 1 VRS or a Mark 1 turbo diesel. That was the idea. But the thing is, when you do an engine swap in a front engine car, you have to think about the alignment of the drive shafts. You have to think about a few things, and it's not that simple. That's the whole problem. It's not that simple compared to what you may think. So with a rear wheel drive swap, you have only one drive shaft to worry about. It's a little easier. But with the front engine, I think it is more challenging, and that's the whole problem here. That's why I thought I'd learn with something that is dispensable. This car is dispensable. If I get it wrong, it won't hurt me. I won't feel so bad. I can break stuff, I can fix stuff, I can keep doing it here. But once I get this, it'll be sorted, and I'll know how to do it on another car. This is a challenging swap. Not completely challenging because I've used a mix of parts, but it is still challenging because you have to figure out the theory of it, and that is more important at this moment. So I thought, why don't I work with a car? This Uno cost me about 10,000 rupees. The donor Palio actually was a Petra, but we could consider it a Palio GTX. That would have cost me 30,000, but I got it from a friend. I got this engine from a friend of mine. But so yeah, that would have been 40,000. I've got a turbo kit too, so I could turbocharge this. That cost me another 30k. And bits and bobs here and there, they're not too expensive. Whatever I may need, I could buy. And if this car gets sold, the project, as in I wanted to swap this into a better car. That was the idea. So a friend of mine has a really nice Uno. We were planning on swapping it into that. I'd recover my money. I can sell this project later on. I'd still recover my money, hopefully, because I'd probably be in about 1 lakh in parts. But I'd still charge somebody, right? I'd still charge somebody for all the time. But I'd have learned a lot about it. I'd have learned how to do a front engine swap. I'd have learned about the brakes, the fueling, all that. So I thought, why not try with the cheapest car I could get, something cool that hasn't been done before, something that's not so straightforward. Like a Zen swap is way too easy. They're interchangeable. The S-Team engine fits right into the Zen. So I thought, why do that? It doesn't make sense. So I thought, okay, this makes more sense. It's a little more tricky, and it is a challenge. I thought might as well take that challenge up. So that is the plan here. The plan is to swap this, try it out. If it works out, great. If something goes wrong, these parts still work in my Palio. They're all there. This is a spare engine anyways. The turbo kit's there. I can test the turbo out in this car, and it won't hurt me. Whatever I do, I can chop up the car. I can do anything. I was thinking, since the wheels are further out, I'd make a wide body kit. I'd do things like that. So this car would be all experimental. That was the idea with this. So next up, once I'm done with mounting this engine and the drive shafts are in place, what will be left is the exhaust, the fuel lines, the brake lines, and the electricals. If I'm doing the turbo, also the boost and stuff like that. But maybe I'll first set it up as an NA car and then do the turbocharger. But yeah, doing this, I'd learn a lot. After the engine is fitted, after today's video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the BMW back on the lift, because then I can fit the engine back in. It's not gonna take so much space in the workshop. So we're gonna continue with this, and that's pretty much it. So now what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to release tension, or maybe if I somehow have to bring this whole thing back. Maybe I'll bring this down. Let's see what happens. Maybe this engine will loosen up. I've removed the mounts. Now I just have to align that mount, and I'm good. That the engine is a bit too much to this side. So what I might have to do is also change that mount, which is going to be fun. Yep. That's it. Then pull out that mount. Okay. belt is all tight. So I'm going to lift the engine back up. I'm going to loosen that mount. This is a bit tricky. Maybe it's time to drop the whole engine and clean up the engine bay. Maybe that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So here we are back at the car, and I've kind of done a few things off camera. I'm not sure if I still have the footage, so we'll figure that out when I'm editing it. But I've changed the subframe. Not exactly the subframe. The subframe is almost identical. Mounting points for the lower arms and the engine mounts. So I've changed the lower arm, I've changed the hubs to paleo, I've changed the shocks, and now I have to move this point a little further out. And because of that, because the engine moved 2 centimeters forward and also changed position, this whole mount moved to the side. So it moved a bit this side, it moved a bit forward too. So I had to chop it and re-weld it, and I've just painted it temporarily for now. I've also remade the engine mount, the front transmission mount actually. So this is it, and adjusted it a bit. So yeah, it's good. I'm going to put it in place, put the wheels back, put the drive shafts on, and we'll know if everything works. Then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do the gear shift linkages for the engine. I'm going to have to do the wiring. I'm going to have to do the brakes. And I'm also will have to do the cooling. So I'm going to have to put in a radiator and stuff like that. There is a long way to go, but it has progressed well. So I'm happy with that. So yeah, let's see what else I can do this week. And I'll update you guys later on the rest. So I managed to get this engine fitted along with the CV joints. What I did was I modified this mount that I had made. This is the front gearbox mount. I've used the original paleo rear gearbox mount. I've used the lower arms, and I've also modified this one, the paleo mount that I mounted over here. I modified the mounting point that I made. Next up, I'm gonna have to do in order to sort out the suspension is move this point a bit out. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. Maybe make a plate which allows me to adjust the camber and caster to some extent. So I'll look into that. And after this, I'm gonna have to do the radiator. I'm gonna have to do the gear shift linkages. I've also sourced parts for the braking. So the braking will shift from the driver's side to the left side using a set of linkages. That's something I'll show you in a bit. I've also got all the projects out here. Paleo is out. I've actually 3D printed and designed this on my own. This is a little grommet that fits around the lock. So this is something that shatters over time with these cars, and it breaks. So I 3D printed this in resin, so it's got a beautiful finish, no rough edges. And it just fits over here. You just press it in and it goes in place. So if you require that, send me a message on Instagram or something, and I will sell you a set of this that I've designed. I've got the wagon over here that I've used a few times, got it started up. We also have the NE118. So I got the clutch change. That's something I didn't do in-house. I decided to give it out to do. So we changed the clutch. I'm getting spacers made to bring the wheels out, and we'll start with making a lip spoiler for this. So probably next week I'll be able to show you guys how I 3D print a lip spoiler for this. I'll start off with dimensioning it on the car and then transferring that to a digital model. The Lada has stopped for a bit. I've sent the engine for a rebuild because that's something I'm not comfortable doing, and it's out till then. And now I'm going to show you guys the linkage that I have on the Fiat that I sourced from a 1.2 Palio. A 1.2 Uno. My E30 is also over here. So next week I'll be showing you guys how I service the engine. I'll be changing the timing belt and the tensioner and a few other things to make sure that we don't have any problems. So I'll change the water pump, thermostat, and a few things. So the E30 is over here. Hopefully I'll get the engine back in. I've refurbished a few things, and I'd like to clean it up, make it look nice. And yeah, this is the linkage setup. So we have the pedals which shift to the other side, and we have a rod a rod setup that moves the basically the movement to the other side. And that whole setup has to go into the Uno to clear a few components that are in the way of the 1.6 engine. So I have, I think the alternator was in the way, so that will be fixed. So I'll try to get that running as soon as I can. But right now I just wanted to get the engine back in, and for the E30, and get things rolling on this project, because it's been stagnant for way too long. I thought it's time. I'm shifting to a manual gearbox. So it is a bit of a challenge because I haven't been able to source all the parts, but it is here now. I've sourced a few new bits, and I'll need to also use another car to get reference points on things that have to be made or fabricated in-house. So that's pretty much it. Hope to see you guys next week. I'll be working on the E30, on the NE 118 spoiler, and I'll also be working, I don't know, let's see. So I'll show you guys that next time on the next episode. See you guys later. Thank you for watching.